Hello, my name is Augustin Pavlak. I'm a student at Concordia University in psychology, and today I will present the validation of the Psyc311 in a new sample. We will start with an overview of personality scales and the theory, as well as their associated validity arguments, previous results in the literature, and competing personality assessment theories. We will then look at the methods, participants, and procedure used. We will then look at the results and interpret them, and this will be followed by a conclusion. At their core, personality inventories model personality using distinct and independent dimensions. These dimensions were derived through factor analysis of descriptive vocabulary words in English. The Hexaco model, one of those models, describes personality using 6 distinct dimensions: honesty, humility, emotionality, extraversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and openness. The Psyc311 is simply a reduced version of the Hexaco. Meanwhile, psychology and the scientific field as a whole has faced a replication crisis. According to this theory, the replication crisis means that most of scientific research is riddled with type 1 errors, which is when researchers reject a true null hypothesis, meaning that they seem to find results, significant results, when there are none. At the same time, Ashton and Lee, the original developers of the scale, conducted validity studies and found moderate correlations between the traits of honesty, humility, and agreeableness. This happened in 2 of their samples, which is pretty significant. This seems to go against the orthogonality of the trait dimensions, because they should not be correlated in any way according to theory. In addition, the Big Five model, which is another lexical model of personality, which was also derived using factor analysis of language, doesn't make use of honesty, humility as a trait, meaning that honesty, humility could be seen as redundant. Other studies in the literature have shown that some traits seem to be culture-specific, like openness not being as significant in Chinese culture. Which leads us to this research questions, which is, will the orthogonality of the Psyc311 traits be replicated in a new sample? This study made use of 106 Montreal Concordia University Psyc311 students, 6 of which were removed due to self-selection bias concerns. Students were asked to complete a survey on Qualtrics, which presented the following material. The Psyc311 measures that asked them to estimate their GPA, the degree of outdoor activity, their intelligence, and the level of importance they give to acting ethically. Next, they were given a measure to assess their moral identity, and finally, a belief bias measure. Later, using Excel, descriptive statistics were derived and a correlation analysis was ran. On the right are a few sample items from the Psyc311 questionnaire. Our first hypothesis followed Ashton and Lee's conclusion and original results, which were that the trait scales will show little to no intercorrelation. This just means that the trait scales are orthogonal and independent. Results revealed a pattern of moderate yet significant intercorrelations. For some traits, this was expected, like honesty, humility, and agreeableness. As previously stated, Ashton and Lee had already found a pattern of moderate and significant intercorrelation between honesty, humility, and A, revealing that they might be measuring related constructs. Other patterns are more difficult to explain, like the significant correlation of 0.213 between conscientiousness and extraversion. Our second hypothesis stated that we anticipated relatively greater positive correlations between honesty, humility, and agreeableness. This was expected from Ashton and Lee's results and was replicated a second time. As a third hypothesis, we wanted to test the validity of the conscientiousness trait scale. This is done via relation to another external measure, which also is related to conscientiousness. We used estimated GPA as our external measure of conscientiousness. Results reveal a positive yet low to weak correlation between conscientiousness and estimated GPA. This shows that estimated GPA somewhat relates to conscientiousness, but however isn't the best measure for it. Maybe a measure of actual GPA would have correlated more with conscientiousness. To conclude, we expected trait scales to be orthogonal. This meant that they would show low to no scale intercorrelation. The correlation analysis revealed that all correlations were weak to moderate. So, on average, we can say that the scales were more independent than they were related. The scale is thus valid, but shows patterns of multiple explainable and non-explainable intercorrelations. This may be due to certain sample characteristics, such as part of a sample being part French or Canadian, which was not the original normative sample used for the scale. The context of evaluation could also be at play because it was an obligatory survey and may lead to some method bias in the form of response styles like random responding. which could explain the pattern of unexplainable trait intercorrelations.